Welcome back, Couch Potatoes.
It's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute. It's been the holidays. I am finally home.
Woo!
No more traveling scheduled right now, at least for me, for a minute, or at all. I'm hoping that I'll be more local.
You're never allowed to leave again.
But we are back, and we're going to be so much better about actually recording and posting this time now that we are back together.
We are very excited to be back, and we are going to do kind of a heavy episode today because it's the end of the year, and we are bringing good vibes only into 2025. So
we want to leave it all in 2024.
Yes.
And then we, of course, will make our now tradition episode, which was like our very first episode that we made, which will be our like New Year, I guess, resolutions, what we've learned in 2024, and that will come out in 2025.
Yeah,
it'll be
we'll
our
talk
first
about
2025 episode.
Yeah, we set intentions at the beginning of last year, so we'll kind of go over those and all that. Today's episode is probably going to be kind of long just because there's a lot to cover. And there's a big part of me that doesn't even want to talk about it because I don't feel like this man deserves any more of my time or attention. But I also think that it's very important to talk about because I've learned a lot of really tough lessons and went through a really hard thing. So trigger warning now, if emotional abuse, specifically by a narcissist, is triggering for you, then maybe don't watch this episode.
Also, I just want to say that, well, my lisp came out really heavy there. This isn't about him. Like, we're not making this for him. We're making this for you, and it's about you, and it's what you've been through and your experience.
Yeah.
So even though he is the main focal point of this story, like, this is for you.
And there are so many people out there that are just like him. So I feel like this could be helpful to anyone who's been in a similar situation. I'm going to talk about what to look out for, what are red flags, and how easy it is to get stuck in a situation like this and how hard it is to get out of and the aftermath of that. So welcome to, I don't know what episode number this is, but welcome to The Liar Part 2.
Didn't think we'd have this one, did you?
This was not on my 2024 bingo card. Before I even get into the actual meat of the story, I want to say a few reminders because I feel like people are going to listen to this and not understand why I was in this for as long as I was. So reminder number one, when I first met this man, it was the first few months of us dating. He was seemingly perfect. So there's I held on to that part of him and that like version of our relationship. So obviously if I had met him now and he was doing the things that he did this time around, it would have been a lot easier to leave. But I was love bombed by this person. I was manipulated by this person. And I just want you to keep in mind that like he did come off as very perfect, very obsessed with me. Very like it wasn't always bad. So just a reminder.
Something?
Yeah.
I also want to say like this could happen to any one of us. You don't know someone really at all at any point, like to be honest, ever. And I don't want to see or hear any type of like victim blaming for anyone who's listening or watching or whatever, because like this could happen to anyone. That's it. Like,
yeah. Oh God. Okay. So there's a lot to this story. There's a lot of things that happened. So the way that I'm going to go about it, I'm first going to tell the story of what I found out, why it ended, how that all happened. Then I'm going to go back in and talk about some other things that happened before things ended, and some of the stories that I have. And I'm not proud of everything in this story. I'm not proud of how I handled everything. Like, I'm actually very embarrassed at some of the things. Kristen doesn't even know a lot of what I'm about to say. But I'm trying to give myself I'm trying to give myself a lot of grace because I know that it's not my fault. Like, it's not my fault. And from what I'm learning now about narcissists and emotional abuse, it actually chemically changes your brain. So I know it's not my fault, and I just don't, nobody needs to go through this. Like, this is not something that anyone should ever have to go through. So I'm going to tell the story of why we broke up, what happened, and then I'm going to kind of backtrack. It may jump around a little bit. I have a note in my phone of like some of the things that I want to make sure I talk about, so it might be a little all over the place. And then I will end the episode with the most recent communication that we've had and where I'm at now mentally and what my plan is going forward. So that's kind of the agenda for this episode. I'm going to try to get through it without crying, but it's a lot to process, and I'm still working through everything in therapy, and yeah, it's just a lot. So bear with me, but it's going to be a long one, so let's dive in. Okay, so this story starts when the liar started creeping back into my life. I was still dating Neighbor Boy. I remember being in Europe with Neighbor Boy, and the liar was messaging me quite a bit, wanting to hang out, telling me that he knows he messed up with me and he regrets it, and now he knows he wants to be with me and he'd do anything to fix it. This is almost a year after we first dated. Okay, so even though I was moved on, I didn't feel like I had feelings for him. I was happy with Neighbor Boy for the most part, and like I didn't think that I was ever gonna date the liar again. But with him coming back into my life and messaging me and saying all these things, told me that he loved me. I was like, don't say that unless you mean it. And I was like, do you mean that you love me as a person or you're in love with me? And he said, I love you as a person, and I think if we started dating, I would be in love with you. And keep in mind, this is still, I'm dating Neighbor Boy. I'm in Europe while the liar is saying this. So at this point, my feelings for Neighbor Boy kind of plateaued. They weren't really getting any stronger. And so I already kind of knew I needed to end things with Neighbor Boy. But I think looking back, part of me started wondering what if with the liar. And I think that probably had a little bit to do with my decision to end things with Neighbor Boy, as much as I hate to admit that. So eventually the liar and I went and got lunch a couple times. I ended things with Neighbor Boy, but me and Neighbor Boy were still hanging out. That's kind of complicated. I don't really know. But I started seeing the liar every so often. We would stop and get lunch or get coffee or whatever. And he had all these promises for our future. And keep in mind, he was dating somebody else, in his words, pretty casually. Do I think now that it was that casual? Probably not to her. So he's telling me that he's like going to end things with her and he really wants to be with me. And I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to trust you. Like, I don't know how I would trust you after what happened. Also, if you haven't gone and watched our Best First Dates and the Liar episode or part 1, go back and watch both of those, because this will all make a lot more sense. So one of the things that he said he was going to do to earn my trust was share his location with me. This will come up later. Spoiler, he never did. The other thing is he told me at lunch one day that he planned on buying me a promise ring. And I said, please don't do that. That is like middle school, high school shit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're a little bit too old for promise rings.
Yeah.
It's engagement ring or nothing.
Yeah. I was like, please don't buy me a promise ring. Like, that's very nice that that's how serious you are.
If
But
I am dating someone and I'm 29 years old and he gives me a promise ring, I'm going to be like, what the fuck are we doing right now?
yeah, I think it was just like a last ditch effort to get me to trust him. I don't really know. But eventually I decided to give it a go. And I went into it very cautious. I was like, I know this man. He says a lot of things and he doesn't do a lot of things. So this is going to be an actions over words kind of situation. Of course, love bombed me again, sent sent wine and chocolate to our apartment one day. Do you remember that? that was before we were even like dating again. Like he tried really hard when we weren't together. And then it's like once we got together, it kind of went downhill. So we start hanging out again. Everything's going really well. Within 2 weeks of us dating again, he invites me to dinner with his parents. And this is my first time meeting his parents. Within 2 weeks of dating again. And now I'm like, he's love bombing me again. I didn't see it at the time because I'm just thinking, okay, actions over words. Like he's taking the step to like introduce me to his family. This is good. Now I know that that's not normal. So I meet his parents. Everything goes really well. I really like them. They really like me. Like it was great. Ended up going to a concert with him like 2 weeks later. So I'm thinking everything's going really well because he's like showing me that he's serious. So he's doing all these things. He's bringing me around his family. He's bringing me to his place of work. I'm having dinner with everyone at his work. I'm playing pickleball with people at his work. I go to a retirement party with him. I'm meeting everybody. I'm hanging out with all his friends. Like it was going really well. And yeah. And then there were little things that would happen. And keep in mind, like I'm still trying to trust this guy. So I'm trying really hard. And I think it was the day after his birthday, he's showing me something on his phone and he gets a text from a girl named Ashley. I've never heard of Ashley. I don't know who this girl is. But I know how he is and I'm scared to bring it up because I know it will turn into a fight. Because any concerns or doubts that I had always turned into a fight. It was never just a calm, rational conversation.
Which, looking back now,
I should not have been scared to bring.
Flag.
Yeah. But
people only get defensive and angry when they're wrong like that.
Yeah, and also when you are in a situation like this, you are made to think that everything is your fault. So it's hard to even explain like what was happening in my head and what was happening in this relationship. But at this point already, I was like scared to even say anything. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to just let this go. Like, I need to know who this girl is. So I asked him, I waited a few minutes and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to start a fight with you. I'm just asking because her name popped up when you were showing me your phone. Who's Ashley? And he said, oh, she's a girl that I used to date last year. We ended things on good terms. We're friends now. I said, great. Why are you guys texting? And he was like, oh, she texted me yesterday for my birthday. And I was like, okay, makes sense. Why are you texting today? And he's like, oh, she just randomly asked me if I'm working today. And I was like, that's weird. That's really weird. But I knew
why would she need to know that?
Right. I knew if I kept pushing, it would turn into a fight. And I'm also battling myself. Like, okay, Kelsey, he's bringing around his family. He's bringing around his friends. He's doing all these things. He's spending so much time with me. I'm trying to trust him. And I'm thinking like, it's my fault that I don't trust him. Like, I just need to get over this. Like, he's showing me all these things. He's doing all these things. So it was like an internal battle for me the entire time. So I wait a few days and then I'm like, I am still thinking about this. So I said, hey, I know that this was a few days ago, but could you just show me your conversation with Ashley so that I can like have peace of mind? And he says, I don't have it anymore. Like I deleted it. And I was like, why? And he's like, I don't need it on my phone, Kelsey. Like I don't keep conversations with people that like I don't need to keep conversations with. And I'm like, okay, well, do you still have like all of our texts? And he's like, I have not deleted a single text from you since the day we started talking. And I'm like, okay. And again, I don't want to start a fight. I'm feeling very uneasy. I'm feeling very anxious, but it was not worth starting a fight over. So I didn't. Another time there was a Polaroid of us in his house that he kept on like his front entryway table. And at the time, his friend was living with him temporarily. And he kept that picture there all the time. One day I come over and it's not there and it's face down in the drawer in his living room. And I'm like, why is this like, why'd you put this away? And he's like, oh, because my roommate lives here now. Like, I can't just have stuff out everywhere. And I remember thinking like, that is so stupid. Like that doesn't make any sense.
In your house?
But when I tell you, I have never met someone so manipulative and convincing. Like the way he lies, like it's nothing. I don't know how he even comes up with the stuff that he does, but it's so convincing. Like he's such a good liar. So again, I'm battling myself. I'm like, okay, just let it go. He's like spending all of his time with you. Like there's no way he could be hanging out with anyone else. Like when he's not with me, he's at work, basically. And he's talking to me all day, every day. Good morning text every single day, texting all day, every day, like nonstop communication. So I'm just like trying hard to believe him. Well, of course I go on his Instagram and I look up Ashley because I'm like, I need to know who this girl is. And there's two. One is public, one is private. So I know nothing about the girl whose Instagram is private, but the one who's public, both these girls are gorgeous. Blonde hair. He loves blondes, it turns out. So I will be dyeing my hair brown because I no longer want to be anything that he would ever want. But that's besides the point.
You want to be blonde for you, you be blonde for you.
I am over it. I'm going back to my roots, literally. So, gorgeous. This girl's gorgeous. She posts a lot of bikini pictures. She spends a lot of time in Havasu. And so I ask him, I like send him her profile. And I'm like, is this a girl you were texting? And he's like, no, that's not even the same girl. And I'm like, okay, great. So it's the other one. So then I'm like, well, who's this girl? Because you're liking every single one of her bikini pictures while we're dating. And that to me is disrespectful. Like you just don't, it's just not something you do. But I was like, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to tell him it makes me uncomfortable. So I do. He tells me he met this girl one time in Havasu. There was a big group of people partying. They talked for like 2 minutes and that was it. And I'm like, well, you must have exchanged information. And keep in mind, this was before me and him were even dating again, that they had like met in Havasu. So I didn't really care, but I'm like, are you guys still in contact? And he's like, no, we didn't even exchange information. She must have just like found me on Google or something. And I'm like, well, how would she do that? And he's like, well, all my friends call me by my last name. And I'm like, So either way, I know this girl's interested because if that's how...
That is the most insane answer to give someone. She must have just Googled me. I'm not important.
But like, I believed him. I believed him because he's so convincing. And while he's telling me these lies, he's at the same time saying it in a tone that's like he's so annoyed with me. So it's making me feel bad for even asking. Yeah. It's so manipulative. So he's telling me, and I'm like, well, can you just show me any conversations that you guys have? Like, just show me. And he's like, I don't have anything to show you because we have not communicated at all. And I'm like, okay, then please stop liking her bikini pictures. It makes me very uncomfortable. And he was like, okay, whatever, I will. So that all happens. Fast forward, this man tells me he wants to fly to Indiana with me to meet my family. This is a really big deal for me. I have not brought a guy home to meet my family for the first time in 7 years. This is not something I just do, especially since moving here. Like flying across the country to meet someone's family is a very big deal. And he knew it was a big deal to me. Like he knew. And he wanted to do it. He was like, I'm sure, like, let's go, let's do it. And I'm like, okay. So we do. We go to Indiana. He meets my family. It was fine. We had a little fight while we were there. And like, honestly, looking back, it really wasn't fine. Like it really was not fine. He was awful. And I don't know. But
wait, I want to go back just to reiterate that him going to Indiana to meet your family was his idea.
Yeah.
It was his idea.
I remember the dinner that I met his parents for the first time. They were going to visit his sister in Iowa. And they were talking about it at dinner and they asked him if he was going. And he was like, well, I don't know because she's going to Indiana in September. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, why does it matter what I'm doing? And they were like, okay, like, are you going to? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go too. And I was like, oh, this is news to me. So then I asked him later and he's like, yeah, I want to go. I think it'd be really fun. And I was like, I mean, you'd be meeting my whole family and all my friends. Like, this is a very big deal to me. And he's like, yeah, I know. I want to do it. And I'm like, okay. So there's a lot that I'm leaving out right now that I'm going to come back to. But basically, we go to Indiana. We stay there for a week at my parents' house. We are at my parents' house for the full week. And we come back. And I go back to San Diego. And 2 days later, he's at work. And also, this Ashley girl had blocked me and unblocked me like a couple times on Instagram. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I don't think she would do that.
The one that was public?
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, I don't think she would do that if something wasn't going on. But he was like,
that's just like a weird thing to do for someone that doesn't know you.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm asking him about it. Like, why is she blocking me? Why is this happening? And he's just telling me, I don't know. You probably watched her stories and she doesn't know who you are. And I'm like, I haven't watched her stories. So I kind of know something's going on, but like he's convincing me that nothing's going on. So I'm trying to convince myself. When I tell you guys, I bought a book about getting out of your own head because this man made me feel like all of this was in my head. Like that is how manipulative he is. So we get home 2 days later. I go on her Instagram. She unblocked me and he's still liking all her photos. And the most recent one like wasn't a bikini picture, but he still liked it. And at this point, I'm like, okay, this is causing issues in our relationship. Like, just delete her. You don't know her. You met her one time. You apparently have not spoken since. You have no plans to see each other again. She doesn't even live in the same city. At this point, I had no idea where she lived, but I knew it wasn't in the same city. And so I asked him while he was at work to please, I was like, this is causing problems. Can you just unfollow her or just not like her pictures at all anymore? Like, it's making me feel really uncomfortable. I just have a gut feeling. And I texted some of my other guy friends who are in relationships first because I was like, am I being crazy? Like, am I asking for too much? I don't know. I no longer trust myself because this man has taken any trust away from me. I don't trust my own judgment. I don't trust anything. So I messaged a couple of my friends, and one of my guy friends who has the same profession as this guy, and is in a relationship is like, I mean, I'm not liking pictures like that to begin with because it's totally disrespectful. But if my girlfriend comes up to me and says, hey, this makes me uncomfortable, and I have no ties with this girl, I don't care if I have a relationship with this other girl, I'm just going to delete her altogether because why wouldn't I? If I care about a future with my girlfriend, I think it's important to note before I get into what happened and what I found out that I cannot express, like, I don't know how many times this man looked me in my eyes and said, there's nobody else. It's only you. You're the only girl I'm dating. You're the only girl I care about. Like, over and over and over. We had the discussion so many times, and he made me feel bad every time we talked about it. So after flying to Indiana to meet all of my family, all of my friends, took him to all my favorite places. 2 days later, we're back, and I tell him that this girl makes me uncomfortable, and I asked, like, please just either stop liking her pictures altogether or delete her because it's causing issues at this point. Instead of doing what all of my other guy friends said they would do and just delete her and like put your girlfriend first, he gets mad, does not delete her, and it turns into a 3-day fight. And actually, when I was on my plane ride home last week for the holidays, I was going through some of my photos and getting rid of things, and I found screenshots from our conversation that at that point. And I just was furious reading through them because he would sit there and say, you love to do this to me while I'm at work. You're being controlling, like completely gaslighting me, saying nothing could possibly be going on. I'm with you all the time. And when I'm not, I'm at work. Like, I'm reading these messages, knowing what I know now and what you're about to know. And I'm just like furious because the level of lying and gaslighting is just insane. So anyways, that 3-day fight ends, and I think he ended up, I think by the end of it, we talked on FaceTime for like 3 hours. I felt like we were finally getting somewhere. He was understanding where I was coming from. He was going to delete her. Everything was good. The end of the conversation, after having like a good conversation, I thought, he says, okay, well, I deleted her, so I hope you're happy, but I still think you're being controlling, in like a nasty tone. And I said, I'm done. And I hung up. And I was like, I'm done. How did we just talk for 3 hours, finally get somewhere, and then that's how you end the conversation? And also he said something like, it's 11:30 p.m. We've been on FaceTime for 3, like he always would do that. We'd be talking, and then all of a sudden he would get mad at me because we're still talking. Like, huh? So, he then is like sending me all these texts like, God forbid I want to go to bed when I've been working for 3 days and this and that, like whatever he's saying. And I'm like, he's like, so we're done because I'm tired and want to go to bed. And I was like, no, we're done because we can't communicate. We fight all the time. Like, this is ridiculous. You're not respecting me. And then I'm pretty sure a few days later, he ended up coming over and apologizing. Like, he drove down to San Diego, apologized to me. Again, the most convincing man to apologize ever. Like, he makes you really think that he's sorry. So then he invited me on a trip to Havasu with his friends. He's like, we're going to Havasu this weekend. Like, I really want you to come. And I was like, I guess I'll go. Like, at this point, I'm kind of on my way out of this relationship. And I told our friends that. Like, I said that. I was like, I feel like this is nearing the end. I'm starting to, like, not be okay with how he's treating me. And I'm seeing things more clearly. And yeah. So end of September or first few days in October, or maybe both, we go to Havasu. And the night before we left, it was a Wednesday night and he was at work. And I was having to get up at like 5 a.m. the next day to get to his place in time for when he wanted to leave. So it would have been a lot easier for me to go Wednesday night, but he was working, so I couldn't. And he didn't text me for like a couple hours. I didn't think anything of it. He was like, sorry, we were playing pickleball and then we got some calls, yada, yada. I think nothing of it. I get to his house in the morning. I stop at Starbucks. I get us some drinks and some food. He's loading up the Razor on the trailer. We get everything all ready, and then we drive to Havasu. And he was being such a dick on this drive. Like, he was like not talking to me. I was like trying to have conversations with him, and he says he was just really focused on the Razor and getting it there and all this stuff and whatever. At one point we stopped at a gas station and he like ran into his buddy and was like talking to his buddy. And when he was coming back, I got out of the truck and like hid and then watched him like look around for me and then got back in the truck. It was maybe like 10-15 seconds. Like, it was just funny. I was just trying to lighten the mood because it was like not great. And I get in the truck. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't smile, like nothing. And I was like, I was just kidding. Like, it was just a joke. And he goes, next time I'm leaving your ass here. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to try and lighten the mood anymore, I guess. So we get to Havasu. We go inside. And it's just me, him, and 2 of his guy friends. There's no other girls. It's just me. I knew that was the case. I asked him if he wanted to just go with the boys. And he was like, no, I want you to come. I want you to come. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember standing in the kitchen and he comes up and like hugs me from behind and like kisses my cheek. And I was like, okay, so I guess we're good now. Maybe he was just really stressed about getting the Razor there. It was his first time driving it there. He had just gotten the Razor. Like, it was a whole thing. So I'm like, okay, he probably was just stressed. So we all get ready and we get on a boat and we drive over to this bar that's like on the river or lake. I don't know. I actually don't know what it is. And we're all sitting there hanging out. Everything's fine. And we're getting drinks. And he like downs his first drink. Like, he's like done with his drink before either of me or the other 2 guys are even like halfway done. And that's important in a second here because all of a sudden, I get a notification that Ashley, the one that he likes all her pictures, the one that we have fought several times now over, is liking all my stories of me being in Havasu with him. Like, I had posted that I was there with him, and she's liking my stories. She does not follow me. I was blocked for a little bit. So I look at him, and I said, why is Ashley liking all my stories? He looks me in my eyes. He's like, I don't know. I don't know why she would do that. I don't know. Just ignore it. I'm texting Kristen saying, why is this happening? Kristen even is like, she's probably just being petty. Like, it's probably not that big of a deal because he has convinced us that like there's nothing going on. So we're kind of thinking this girl probably likes him and he's like not having it. And now she's like trying to create drama or something.
Yeah, I think I was mostly just trying not to get you worked up because you're on this trip with him and his guy friends. And I was like, it's okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, what are you going to do? Like, in my mind, I'm like, it's not like she can leave. Like, you couldn't leave.
No.
Like, you didn't have your own car to leave with. Like, I couldn't come pick you up. I was leaving for a flight the next day, even though I was very prepared to like drive my ass there and grab you. But I was just like, in my head, like just from my point of view, I was just trying not to get you more aggravated because like I have never liked this guy to begin with. At no point did I
at the very, very beginning, the first time we dated.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't count because now we're here. But like I just haven't liked this guy. Like I've known he was bad news, like whatever. That does, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how I felt, but like, yeah, I think from my point of view, I was just trying to like not get you worked up because I knew like the only thing that can happen from this situation is not good.
Yeah.
And like you're not in a position that you can just get up and leave from at that point of time. So like I wasn't just trying to be like, oh, this girl's a bitch, like whatever. Like that wasn't what I was doing. I was just more doing it so like
I didn't freak out.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there denying. I don't know why I should do that. And he's like drinking faster and faster. And at this point, like we're pretty tipsy. And I said, I'm just going to message her and ask then. So he watched me message her. I said, hey, is there a reason? Also, her friend went and liked all my stories. So I said, is there a reason you and your friend are liking all my stories? Is there something I should know? I'm a girl's girl, okay? Like, if there's something going on, I'm going to ask you first. Like, I didn't want to come off like I was accusing her of being like a crazy jealous, like whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, also, I feel like something's going on or else it's going to be happening.
And to be fair, that is like a really weird way to like make your voice known, is just to like go and like some random girl stories that you don't know and have your friend do the same. I understand it now, but I just feel like there were better ways for everyone to go about what Kelsey's going to talk about.
So then I message her and I'm not getting a response. So I'm like trying to just carry on like everything's normal. And like, keep in mind, I just brought this man home to meet my family. So I'm in deep with this man. Like all that I wanted was for us to stop fighting and for it to be smooth sailing. I wanted it to be like it was in the beginning. I wanted him to be the guy that he promised he was going to be. I so desperately just wanted it to be healthy and good. So I'm holding on to any last bit of hope that I have that nothing's going on. And I make a joke about him being an alcoholic because he chugged his drink. I go, what are you, an alcoholic or something? Like, it was very clearly a joke. This man snaps at me at the bar with his friends. And I was like, please stop. Like, please stop yelling. Please lower your voice. Like, I was just kidding. I don't think you're an alcoholic, which I'm not even going to say anything about that actually. But I'm like just trying to get him to calm down because I don't want to cause a scene. And we end up leaving the bar. We're in the boat on the way back. Me and him are sitting in the front of the boat, like next to each other, but we're not right next to each other. And I get a message from her friend, and it's basically says, hey, I'm not sure if you know what's going on, but if you don't, I feel like you should. The liar has been dating my friend for the past few months. He was with her at her house last night. She cooked him dinner and they hooked up. Last night.
Oh, last night, the Wednesday night that he said he was working, so you couldn't come over?
Said, sorry, after a couple hours of not responding. Sorry, we were playing pickleball and then I got some bum calls. Yeah.
Yep.
Nope, that wasn't true. So at this point, we're on a boat. It's pitch dark outside. We're heading back to like the dock or whatever. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I hand him my phone. I show him the message and I go, do you have anything you want to say? And he goes, not right now. Not while we're here with my friends. I did not care. I look at his friends and I look at the first one. I go, did you know he was dating someone else this whole time? I look at the other friend. Did you know he was dating someone else this whole time? They both say no. They're like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. We start pulling up to the dock. I run and I jump off of this boat onto the dock. Thank God I didn't fall into the water. That would have been embarrassing. They're all like, no, Kelsey, wait. And I was like, I don't give a shit. I cannot be here right now. I remember going and sitting on a curb. I called Mooney. I don't know why. I think I must have already been texting him or something. I called Mooney and I'm telling Mooney what's going on. I don't even know where I am at this point. I'm just on a curb in a random parking lot. We must have been on the phone for a while because all of a sudden the truck pulls up, his friend's truck with the boat connected. And his friends were like, Kelsey, can you please get in the truck? So I get in the truck and he's not in there. And I said, where is he? He's in the fucking boat. He's in the boat that's being pulled by the truck.
Oh my God. A child.
We get back to the house. At this point, I'm in communication with Ashley, and I get her number and I call her, and she's telling me everything. She has a kid. He was telling her he wanted to meet her kid. He invited her on a trip later in the month because he has a seat for a kid in the back of his Razor. Like, he's making all these promises to her. She sent me screenshots of their messages. They're like sexting. He's telling her how much he likes her, how he like feels like he needs to explore things and like see where they go with her. Like the most hurtful thing that I could have seen. Like, every single emotion was going through my body at that point. I was sad. I was pissed. I was confused. I was scared. Like, I'm in the desert alone with this guy and his two friends. Like, nobody's here to comfort me. Nobody's here to help me. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to get anywhere. I'm like wandering off into the desert, like by myself. He's trying to find me. He's driving around in his Razor trying to find me. He pulls up. I'm still on the phone with Ashley. I put her on speaker. We're just like going in on him. And he has this like pathetic look on his face. And I'm, I don't even know how to explain. I felt every emotion that you could feel. I feel like I blacked out. Like, I don't even know what. It was horrible. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. Maybe him, but that's it. So eventually me and him sit down and we talk. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Why, like, are you that big of a coward that you knew I was about to find out and you didn't tell me? And I go, what was your plan? Like, what was your game plan here? And he's like, I was just trying to figure out who I wanted to date. You just met my fucking family. You just flew across the country to meet my family. Yeah. So obviously that was insane. I then posted him in the Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook group for Orange County. And the comments start coming in. One girl says, he dated my friend in high school. He was always really controlling and horrible when he would get drunk. This was high school. He's still horrible when he gets drunk. And I'll get into those stories in a little bit. Another girl comments and says, he's been busy. I've been dating him for months. So confirmed 3 girls. I asked him, is there anyone else? He finally told me about the other girl. He had hung out with both of those girls like 4 or 5 times in the past like 4 or 5 months. Who knows if there were more? Like, there probably were. Eventually his friends and he convinced me to delete the post. So I did. I wish I wouldn't have. Turns out Ashley's friend had actually posted him in September because they're a little bit older. So I think they recognized the love bombing. And she was like, this just seems really strong, like really fast. So she had posted him and said, does he belong to anyone? I didn't see it. Somehow I didn't see it. If I saw it, he never would have come to Indiana with me. Like, everything would have been very different. But yeah, he was fully dating 3 girls at once while telling me over and over and over, you're the only one.
At least.
This girl,
3.
This man was in my parents' house having dinner at my parents' dinner table with my parents, dating 3 people. Now,
death penalty.
Jail,
death
at least.
Penalty.
He did say, and I think she confirmed, that he had ended things with her right before Indiana, but as soon as we got back, he reached out again and rekindled with her. So I don't know how many times he told me he was at work when he was with these girls. Like, looking back, there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, he probably was with a girl that day. Like, that makes sense. But yeah, that happened. And now I'm going to get into some of the other things that happened in our relationship. And this is where people are going to be really confused on why I stayed. But this is where you have to understand that I was completely manipulated by this man. I lost all of my confidence while I was dating him. I did not trust my own judgment. I did not trust, and also before we started dating, this man said over and over, if we date, we're getting married. If we date, we're getting married. And at this point, I believed him. And I fell head over heels for this man the first time we dated, and those feelings never fully went away. So when we started dating again, they came right back, And I'm thinking, like, if we can get through everything that we've gotten through in the past year, then this is it. Like, I truly, truly believed that this was my husband. I had no doubts that this was what was going to be my future. And to kind of piggyback off that, we talked about me moving in. Like, I was supposed to move in when our lease ended in June. You were looking at 1-bedroom or studio apartments because you knew that's what was going to happen most likely. And on my birthday, he gave me a key to his house, unprompted. You were there. You witnessed the whole thing. I did not ask. There was no reason for him to even give it to me in that moment because we all went to a concert together and I was going back with him.
Yeah, now looking back, it was definitely just for show.
Yeah, I think he
did that in front of me on purpose, to be honest.
Probably. I guess while we're talking about the birthday, let's talk about my birthday. I had foot surgery, 3 days before my birthday?
Yeah, I think so.
3 or 4. It was supposed to be very simple surgery, in and out. Like, I was not even supposed to be on crutches. I was supposed to walk out of surgery. The surgeon ended up having to shave off part of the bone in my foot, so I could not put any weight on it for like 3 or 4 days. So I had bought tickets to Revolution for my birthday. I bought all 3 of our tickets with the plan of you and him paying me back. Like, that was the plan because they were not cheap.
I paid you back.
Yeah. So I show up to his house the morning of my birthday on crutches. And I was, I think, 8 minutes earlier than I said I would be. Like, my ETA changed while I was on the way. And I opened the door and he like says, "Happy birthday," gives me a hug and a kiss, whatever. And was like, "Well, I was going to get you flowers, but you showed up early."
8 minutes makes a real big difference. You definitely had time to go out and get you flowers.
I took one look at this man. I was like, you were not about to leave the house and go get flowers right now. Like, you just rolled out of bed. Come on. Also, it's my fault. It's my fault that I didn't get flowers on my birthday.
Of course it's your fault.
Everything was my fault, always. So that happened. We go to Revolution. I had a great time at Revolution. He bought me one drink and you bought me food.
Yeah.
And I only had one drink and like one thing of food. So that was it. So basically for my birthday, this man bought me a drink. That's it. Not that I did much for his birthday. I baked him some cookies and...
You guys weren't even officially dating though on his birthday.
And that was like very early on. So anyways, yeah, this all happened and that was my birthday. Yeah, it was fine. But there's 2 big fights that happened in our relationship. One Kristen knows about, one she does not know about. So first I'll tell you the one that she does know about. The night before we went to Indiana, I guess we'll start the morning before we went to Indiana. He and I drove from San Diego to Orange County where he lives. And we drove separately because once we got back from Indiana, I was going to have to drive home. So I remember he like would
And you guys didn't fly out of San Diego?
No, we flew out of LA.
Yeah.
So we went to his house in Orange County and he like would FaceTime me on our drive because he like wanted to talk. Like, this is the shit he did to make me like, he made me feel like he was obsessed with me. And then he was awful. And it was, I think, a classic narcissistic thing that they do is they create really high highs and really low lows, and it gets you chemically addicted to this person. Like, that is actually what happens when you're in a relationship like this. So he's FaceTiming me. I realize on our drive that the Bengals game started at 10 a.m., not 1 p.m. We had both thought it was at 1 p.m. So then I'm like, we have to hurry up. Like, we need to get home. Our plan was to go to the bars and watch football all day. At this point, we're not getting to his house till halftime of the Bengals game. So I'm like stressing out. And I'm like, can we like get to your house, grab what we need to grab and go? He's like, yes, but we need to pick up my friend. And I'm like, well, how far is your friend's house? He says like 10 minutes and then the bar is 5 minutes from there. Something like that. Very short distance. I'm like, okay, well, we need to like hurry. It was way longer than that. It was like 15 minutes to his friend's house and then like 20 minutes to the bar. So I'm annoyed because I'm like, I'm missing the Bengals game. It's not that big of a deal, but I was like, why would you tell me that it was like way shorter than it was? So in the car on the way there, I said something kind of sassy about it, but I was like pretty much mostly joking. Like, yeah, I was annoyed that we were missing the game, but I wasn't actually mad at him. And I immediately got like yelled at for that. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just not going to speak anymore because that was I was kind of joking around, and that turned into like him wanting to start a fight about it. So I just dropped it and let it go. We go to this bar. We're watching football all day. We're drinking all day. It's him and like a few of his friends. One of his friends' parents showed up at one point. It's like a decent group of people. And then me, him, and two of his friends go back to his house after drinking all day. And we're sitting in his garage, and we're drinking more, and we're hanging out, and everything's going great. Then he tells a story about one of his other friends, something that his other friend did that I did not know. And it is pretty shitty. And it was something that he did to the girl that he was like dating, or behind her back, I guess. It was just really shitty. Like, it was a really shitty thing, and it was shocking for me to hear, knowing the situation that I knew. So I didn't say anything. I learned that information, and we just kept drinking and whatever. And I had told the liar many times, like, I need to be home at a decent time tonight because I have a big presentation tomorrow that I need to work on tonight. I told him so many times. So I didn't really want to go back out to the bars. I thought we were just going to hang out at his house. His friends were going to leave, and then we were going to like be home the rest of the night. He convinced his friends to go to another bar. And on our way to the bar, I was like, can we not stay the whole game? There's one more game. I think the Lions were playing, actually. I was like, can we not stay the whole game? Because I really need to go home and like do this work thing. And he's like, yeah, whatever. We go to the bar. We're sitting there. Everything's fine. Like, honestly, such a fun day. And I just like kind of remembered what he had told me about his friend. And I look at him and I go, I can't believe your friend did that. Like, that makes me nervous. I wasn't thinking about it the whole time. It just kind of popped into my head, and it wasn't a big deal. Like, I wasn't accusing him of anything. Like, I wasn't thinking anything of the liar. I just like couldn't believe that his friend did that. And yeah, it makes me nervous that people can do stuff like that. I was not accusing the liar of anything. When I tell you, this man snapped, like immediately raises his voice at me at the bar, in front of his friends, in front of the bartenders, whoever else is at this bar. It got so bad I got up and went to the bathroom because I needed to collect myself, and I was getting embarrassed that he's yelling at me at this bar. Like, calm down. I'm not accusing you of anything. Like, I'm not saying you're doing anything. And keep in mind, obviously this is before Havasu. This is before I found everything out. So to kind of Cliff Notes version this fight, it turned into me being like, okay, I'm just going to Uber back to the house because you're drunk and you're yelling at me and you're freaking out on me, and I've done nothing wrong. I am not accusing you of anything. I don't think that you're doing anything wrong. I just can't believe that your friend did that. He's like, this is why I didn't want to tell you. I knew you'd make a big deal about it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not making a big deal about it. I just simply can't believe that happened. It gets to the point where he says, I want my house key back. So he takes his house key from me. I'm like, sure, you can have it, whatever. And then I'm like, well, that means you have to go back with me because now I can't get into the house. And so he's like, okay, I'll meet you there. So I'm waiting outside for my Uber. He goes and gets in his truck. Then he's texting me, just get in the truck. And I'm like, the Uber's almost here. I'm going to get charged if I cancel. Like, it's fine.
Also, this man is drunk. He should not be driving.
Oh, yeah. That's nothing new. So he's like calling me then, trying to get me to get in the truck. I'm like, my Uber's here. I get in the Uber. He follows me. The Uber is like nervous because he thinks this random man from the bar is following us back to the house. And I tell him, I was like, that's my boyfriend. Like, whatever. We're fighting. Like, I don't know. We get to the house. This is the night before we go to Indiana. So I have my suitcase there. Like, I'm all packed. I throw my shit. I grab my suitcase. I'm like getting everything together in his house, and he's just screaming at me in the house, going on and on about how maybe I should read more of that book that I bought, and I don't trust him, and I make a big deal out of it. Like, I'm looking at him going, are you done? Are you done? I grab my suitcase. I put it in my car. I drive away. He gets in his car. He drives away. I don't get very far before I realize, like, I cannot drive to San Diego right now. Like, I've been drinking all day. And I didn't feel drunk, but, like, I knew I should not be driving to San Diego. So he went back to the bar, and I call my friend Carly sobbing, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm in this random neighborhood across the street, sitting in my car, parked. I don't know what to do. And I'm like telling her everything that happened. I'm bawling my eyes out. Eventually I'm like, I just need him to come home so we can like talk and figure it out and go to bed. Like, this is crazy. This shouldn't even be a fight right now. He refuses to come back to the house. Refuses. Tells me to sleep in my car in the driveway. I drive to the bar, and his phone died at this point, so I text his friend. I was like, can you tell the liar to come outside? I wait another 10 minutes before he finally comes outside. We're standing in the parking lot talking, and you would have thought that like I cheated or something. Like, you would have thought I did something so wrong the way he was treating me. He starts bashing my friends. He says, oh, well, Gabby's never had a boyfriend, so she probably is sleeping around all the time, and I don't accuse you of doing it because she is. And I was like, you could not be more wrong about Gabby, first of all.
But also what?
And what does that have to do with anything? I never accused you of anything. And I, at one point, said, like, you are who you surround yourself with. But that was, like, after he was already saying that I, like, accused him of stuff. And I was like, listen, like, I wasn't even saying that it makes me nervous because I think you would do it. As a general rule of thumb, like, you are who you surround yourself with. But I'm not saying that's the case right now. He took that and ran with it. I can't even tell you how many times he brought that up. It turned into me telling this man that I'm in love with him and I don't want to fight and I trust him and I wouldn't be dating him if I didn't want to be with him. So then I'm apologizing for saying anything, and I'm apologizing for not trusting him when, like, that's not even what happened. So somehow, I think because he knew he was doing something wrong the whole time, anytime I even remotely brought it up or he was like close to getting caught, he would freak out, get super defensive, and start yelling at me until I believed that I was in the wrong. And that's what he did over and over and over. So I'm crying. I'm telling him that I love him. Like I said, I'm in love with you. I don't want to fight. This is not what I want. Eventually, he drives me back to the house, and I was going to sleep on the couch, but it was literally like 100 degrees in his house. And I was like, I have to be up at 6 a.m. now because now I'm not doing my presentation tonight. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. I'm going to have to do it in the morning. So I was like, can we please talk before we go to bed? I'm too tired, which happened all the fucking time. If we had a fight, he would never talk about it that night. He would wait till the next day. So I go to bed with him. He falls asleep in 2 seconds, per usual. I'm like not doing well. I go to bed eventually, and then I wake up super early. I work on my presentation. I do my meeting, everything like that. And I'm just sitting there like miserable. And I'm like, we're supposed to go to Indiana tonight. And I don't even know if we're together anymore. He comes out of his room. He gives me a big hug. He starts kissing me. He starts initiating some intimacy. And there's a whole other side to the intimacy part of this relationship that he definitely used to manipulate me further. He knew that it was a big deal to me. He knew that it was very emotional for me. For the first time since college, he knew that. And I think he used that to his advantage, and he used it against me. So things are getting intimate, and in the moment, he looks me in my eyes and he says, I'm really sorry about last night. I really do care about you, and I love you too. I just am not ready to say it all the time yet. And keep in mind, I said, I'm in love with you. And he says, I love you too. Okay? Afterwards, I wait like a good 20 minutes because I know that sometimes men say things they don't mean in the heat of the moment. And also, we never really talked about anything because that was his apology. And he knew that like would get me to not bring up the rest of the conversation, because then after that, I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to fight again. Like, I'm doing anything I can to keep the peace. I asked him 20 minutes later, I was like, did you mean what you said just now? And he's like, yes, I just need more time to feel comfortable saying it all the time. And I'm like, that's fine. I have not said this to anyone since my last relationship 5 years ago. And you haven't said it to anyone since your last relationship a little over a year ago. So I get it. That's fine. I text my friends, I text my family. I'm like, the liar told me he loves me. Like I was happy. I was happy. And that's how freaking brainwashed I was, that like I was able to just forget that fight because of what he said to me in this moment. So fast forward, we go to Indiana that night, have the whole Indiana trip, that all happens. So that was a huge fight. The next fight that I'm going to tell you about is arguably worse. And this is one that Kristen does not know about. So, one day before Indiana, this was like relatively early on in our relationship, the round 2 of our relationship, he went out drinking by himself. He just like went on a bike ride, went to some bars, I think in Newport, and was just like hanging out by himself. And I was home and I was like, wow, like you're by yourself. And he like thought I was accusing him of like being with someone else and lying to me. And I genuinely wasn't. I was just impressed that he was going out and doing this alone, because I could never. Like, I don't do that. You want
to take yourself out on a bike ride by yourself, and you want to take yourself out for a cocktail, whatever, go for it. But this man's an alcoholic.
So he's drinking. Actually, somebody very close to him randomly told me one day how awful he is when he drinks. And I was like, why is nobody holding him accountable to this? Like, why is everybody enabling him? So everything's fine. Like, at this point, we were having a good few days or weeks. I don't know. I remember being like, things are really good right now. Like, he's treating me well. Like, we're happy. We're not fighting. And he had sent me a nude that day. Unprompted. Okay. I never once asked for these pictures, but he sent me one and he wanted me to send him one back. And I sent him a spicy picture, but it apparently wasn't what he wanted. He wanted full body spice. And I said, that's boyfriend privileges, because he was not my boyfriend, with like the tongue out emoji. Okay. Like, this is lighthearted. It's not that big of a deal.
Like, you mean it, but it's
like, I'm not sending you that until I'm your girlfriend, but also like, I'm not mad that I'm not your girlfriend. Like, it's fine. Like, we're just goofing around. That apparently was the wrong thing to say, because he started sending me these messages that were like, how am I not your boyfriend? I do everything that a boyfriend should do. I pay for everything. I do this. I take you here. I do that. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, like, just relax. Like, I'm not upset with you. Like, I know that we're basically boyfriend and girlfriend, but like, I'm just saying I'm not comfortable sending a picture like that unless you're my boyfriend. Like, it's just a boundary that I have. I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm not going to do it. It's nothing against you. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's just what I'm comfortable with and not comfortable with. And that turned into him just going off on me, because he is my boyfriend and he's doing all these boyfriend things. And now in his eyes, I am saying he doesn't treat me like a girlfriend. He doesn't treat me well. Like, that's how he spun this. And I'm like so taken back by this, because like everything was just fine a second ago. And now we're in this huge fight and he's saying awful things to me, awful things. I basically at the end was like, I think you should stop drinking and go home, because I know you drove your truck to where you are to ride your bike, and I know you have to drive later. I think you should stop drinking. I think you should eat something, and I think you should go home, because like now you're just being really mean to me. He's like, okay, thanks, Mom. And I'm like, I'm telling you this because I genuinely care about you and I want you to be safe. Like, please stop drinking. Please sober up and please go home. You're going to ruin our relationship. You're going to ruin your life. Like, just stop. Like, I just want you safe. I just want us to stop fighting. All I want is for us to stop fighting. So, eventually he goes home and he calls me, and on the phone, he's telling me that I provide nothing to the relationship because I don't pay for things and I don't drive. Let's keep in mind, every single time we have done anything together, I have offered to pay, and I have paid sometimes, but he usually doesn't let me. I always offer to drive. 98% of the time that we're hanging out, it's at his house. I'm driving to him every single time, but I don't bring anything to the relationship because I don't pay and I don't drive. And so I'm like, what about who I am as a person? What about the love that I give you, the support that I give you? Like, does none of that matter? It didn't. Sorry. I don't know why I'm getting upset about this. I guess I've never really talked about this to anyone. Like, I don't think anybody knows this story. So, just saying awful things to me, like, awful. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, I don't need this. Like, this is not what I want. This is not what I want in a relationship. I should never be spoken to like this. And I always think about my parents, and I think, would my dad ever speak to my mom like this? No, never. I have never heard my dad even raise his voice at my mom. Like, I've never heard him say anything horrible to her. And I kept thinking that and being like, this is not healthy. Like, I need to leave. I need to get out of this. And then he would sober up, and the next day he would apologize, and he would tell me how much he cares about me and how much he likes me. And it was just a never ending cycle. And I was stuck. Like, I was sucked into it. I'm already in love with this man. He's so manipulative. He's so convincing. Like, it got to the point where, like, I genuinely felt like it was my fault. Like, everything was my fault. That's really how he made it feel. And so I just kept thinking, okay, I need to do this better, and I need to do this so that he can be better to me. And it's so crazy to say that now when I'm out of it, but that's how it felt. And, like, I feel for anyone else who's in a situation like this, because it is so hard to recognize when you're in it, and it's so hard to get out of, and, like, all that you want. My entire focus went to keeping the peace and not upsetting him. I wasn't even thinking about myself anymore. I wasn't thinking about my feelings. I wasn't thinking about what I wanted, what was healthy for me, what I needed in a relationship, how I was doing mentally. I didn't care because I was so focused on keeping the peace and keeping him happy. And it didn't matter what I did. Nothing was going to make him happy. Like, nothing. And I have a lot of theories on this. I don't think he ever healed from his first relationship, considering he started dating me 5 weeks later. And that relationship broke him. I know it did. And he has not stopped dating since. Like, he at no point has been single since that relationship ended. And so I know he hasn't taken any time to heal. He's taken no time to become a better person. Like, nothing. So that was that fight.
I mean, like, I feel like it's nothing different than anything else that he has said and done to you. Yeah. So, like, it's sad that I'm not shocked, but I'm not shocked that he said and did those things to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to talk about in Havasu, when I found all of this out, what really blew my mind was how nonchalant he was after. Like, I had to stay there until Saturday. I found out Thursday, and I had to stay until Saturday. And he was just acting like everything was fine. He, at one point, was trying to hold my hand. He would put his hand on my leg. He would, like, try to comfort me, but then he would be ice cold. Like, it was very confusing. And keep in mind, like, I just found this out, and now I'm stuck here. I can't even get away and process this and, like, figure it out on my own. Like, I'm still here with this man. I'm feeling every emotion that you can feel. I'm confused. I'm conflicted. I'm heartbroken. I'm, like, full of anxiety. And at one point, the four of us went to get hibachi. I'm not eating because I have no appetite. I'm crushed. I'm anxious. Like, I can't eat. We go to hibachi, and I ask him, I was like, when we order, can you just say that we're sharing whatever meal you get so that I don't have to explain to the server that I'm not eating? Like, I just don't want to have to do that in front of your friends. And, like, this is just really awkward for me. This is incredibly awkward and uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to be here. So can you just, like, when you order, just say we're going to share this? Refused. Wouldn't do it. Why? For what? Why would you not do that? What? I was like, we don't have to share. We're not going to share. I don't want anything. Just say that. No, I'm not playing into your games.
I feel like I would have waited until the server came over to take the order, and I would have been like, I'm not eating because he's cheating on me with 2 other girls.
I wish I would have.
Like, I literally think that I would have been like, okay, fine. Like, then I would have announced it. I would have been like, I'm not eating because he's cheating on me, and I found out this morning. Like,
dude, there's so many things I wish I would have done different looking back.
Of course, like, looking back, it's easy.
Yeah, so he refused. So the server's like, for you? And I was like, I'm not getting anything. And then his friends and him are like, you need to eat. You need to eat. And I was like, please stop, you guys. I'm not hungry. Like, I'm not hungry. I'm not going to eat right now. Like, hello? I just found out yesterday that this man has been cheating on me the whole time.
Fuck you. Don't tell me what to do.
No. It gets worse because then he goes, why aren't you eating? And I said, because I'm heartbroken and I'm anxious and I don't have an appetite. He looks at me and says, that's weird. Like, could you be a more awful human being? Like, so that happened. He was so much of a coward that he couldn't tell me when he knew I was going to find out. Oh, and at another point the next day we went to a bar and it was like you like got your drink and then you stood in the water, like in a pool. And the hottest man I've ever seen in my life was at this pool. So me and him are obviously broken up at this point, and I'm just staring at this man like that is the finest man I've ever seen. And the boys had like moved over and I didn't see them move because I was staring at this man. And the liar was like, Kelsey. And I was like, oh, sorry. He goes off on me for being petty for staring at another man after I just found out he was fully dating 2 other women. I'm petty for looking at another man after we broke up. Like, and I'm like apologizing. I just can't even. I can't even. So, the fight where he was drinking and said that I didn't bring anything to the relationship because I didn't pay for anything. Then he brings up my birthday and he's like, you made me pay you back for the Revolution ticket. If it were my birthday, I would have paid for my ticket and your ticket. And I was like, that seems backwards.
So then he should have paid for your ticket. He should have paid you back for both his and yours.
No, he was saying that because it was my birthday, I should have paid for both tickets.
Okay.
And I'm like,
that makes sense.
And he's like, and I bought all your food and everything that night. And I'm like, actually, you bought me one drink. Kristen bought my food.
I bought my ticket. Motherfucker.
Like, what kind of a man says that to the girl he's dating?
Also, the whole time we were at this concert, she's on crutches, right?
Yep.
Like literally limping along on crutches, crutching like her life away. This man would just leave her in the dust.
Yeah, he would.
We were all 3 of us were together, and I'd be like, "What?" I literally in my mind I was like, "What the hell's going on?" I'm like, "You're not gonna wait for her?"
Yeah.
Like I would find myself stopping to walk and turning back because you were right behind me and like waiting for you, and like walking next to you, and then he would be like a mile ahead, and I was just like, "What the hell?"
I had blisters on my hands from these crutches. Like it was not fun. Which I actually have written down. He would always walk in front of me in groups. Like he would walk with his boys in front of me.
I know. I should have called him out, but I was like, it's Kelsey's birthday. I don't want to make a scene. The fact that I'm here with him is already like enough to make my blood boil. But like I promised Kelsey I would keep the peace. I'm not going to say anything. But I really wish I would have.
Yeah.
Sorry. I would have. I should have.
There was another time that he came to San Diego, one of like the maybe 6 or 7 times he ever came to San Diego to see me.
Was it even that many times?
Most of them were him coming to apologize for being an asshole. He showed up and was like, if I'm going to drive all the way to San Diego, the least you can do is have a box of beer ready for me. What have you ever had ready for me when I come to you every single time I come to you? Oh, I don't know if you guys have seen the show Tell Me Lies. You've seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
read
watched
the book.
Yeah. I watched that show while I was dating him, and I remember having a pit in my stomach watching it because the guy on the show reminded me so much of The Liar. And I was like, that can't be good. Like, that cannot be good. Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of things that happened in the relationship that were bad. There were good things too. Like, I mean, this man had pictures of me like in frames in his living room, and like at one point I had a key to his house, and again, like I was hanging out with his family, he was hanging out with mine. Like it wasn't all bad, but it was really bad. Like it was bad.
But like of course not, because you wouldn't have stayed if it was all bad.
Yeah, it was very high highs and very low lows. And keep in mind, again, he love bombed me into this relationship the first time. He love bombed me into it the second time. And now I know like a red flag to look out for. If you meet someone and they're immediately sending you good morning texts every single day, probably a red flag. If you're meeting their family within 2 weeks of dating, probably a red flag. If they make you feel like they're obsessed with you early on, I know it feels good. It's a red flag. It is a classic trait of a narcissist. And I think he's a covert narcissist. I think he's very good at hiding it. I think he's very insecure, which is a classic trait of a narcissist. And so I think once I saw his true colors, he wasn't willing to fight for me to make things work because he knew that I knew who he was and his cover was blown. And I think each time this happens and he goes through this, his mask gets a little bit thicker and he gets a little bit better at hiding it, but his true colors are always going to come out until he takes actual steps to become a better person, which he hasn't, and I don't think he will at this point.
I don't think he will because I don't think that he thinks that he has anything to work on. Like,
Probably
I
not.
don't think that he believes that there is anything that he needs to get help for.
Yeah. Well, back to finding out in Havasu. I told you this was going to kind of jump around a lot. Like, there's a lot that's happened. I have so many notes. But this is the part where I start to be a little bit, I don't know if ashamed is the right word, because I know that I wasn't in the right state of mind for any of this, but like, this is where I'm really not proud of myself, and like, I feel weak when I think about all of this. But after I found out that he was cheating, we still hooked up twice right after. And I think for me, it was like, this is when I feel the closest to you, and I just desperately wanted to feel that again. I don't know. But we went back. I had to sit in the car with him for 6 hours back to his house. It was not a fun 6 hours. Not good. And we got back to his house, and then I drove home, and I remember him saying, like, I remember being like, how are you not like phased? And he was like, I just don't think it's hit me yet. I'm like, okay. So I go back home, and somehow it's all kind of a blur, but somehow we were still in communication. And we had plans at the end of October to go to a Halloween light show with his parents. And keep in mind, I found out he was cheating at the beginning of October. So I was like, obviously we're not going to that. Like, that's canceled. But he ended up texting me, like, we were still kind of talking somehow. And he was like, I mean, I still really want you to come. I know my parents want you to come. Like, I would love if you still came with us. And I did. I went. And to me, I knew it was the last, like, I knew that was it. Like, I was like, I'm going to go to this, and this is going to be like the last normal thing that we do. Like, I knew it was the end. I knew I had to leave. Like, I just knew. Obviously. It's just harder to leave than you would think. So I go to this thing with his parents, and it was really fun. Honestly, it was the first time that me and him like really laughed in a long time. Like, he just wasn't really that fun when I think about it. Like, he wasn't goofy. He wasn't funny. Like, at the beginning he was for sure, but at this point, like, we never laughed or had fun together anymore. And this day we did. And we went back to his house after. His parents did not know that we were not together at this point. But me and him went back to his house after, and once again initiated some intimacy and did something that he's never done. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. Like, I'm sure you all can pick up what I'm putting down. And I have a full panic attack because I'm like, what if I get pregnant? Like, what if he just got me pregnant? And like, what do I do? So I have a full panic attack. He comforts me through the panic attack. I ask him, like, what are we going to do if I'm pregnant? And he's like, I mean, I would want you to keep it, but obviously it's up to you. Like, I would want the kid. I took plan B the next day, and obviously I am not pregnant, but I don't know if that was like an attempt to trap me. I don't know. I do not know what his intentions were with that. I don't know. I will never know. But that happened. And then we still weren't really in communication, but we weren't not in communication. And I went to San Francisco to visit Kristen while she was up there for work. And when I got back from San Francisco, he came down to San Diego. And we hooked up again. This was October 28th. And then I was like, listen, I can't keep doing this. Like, we have to be done. This is not healthy. I'm not going to ever be able to get over what you did. I know that I deserve better, and like, we have to be done. And he agreed, but it was obviously a very hard conversation, and he started crying, which is the first time I've seen any real emotion towards me. I saw him cry over his ex the first time we dated. But he started crying, and I was like, he said something about how he doesn't like himself and he hasn't been happy with himself for a long time, and he needs to go to therapy and work on it and figure it out. And that's what he said he was going to do. And I was like, I hope you do, because if you don't, you're going to keep doing the same shit over and over, and you've already left a trail of broken hearts. So like, please, for the sake of other women, go to therapy and get help. And for the sake of yourself, like, don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to, like, I don't know. So then we talked for a long time. I walked him down to his car. We said our goodbyes. He's sobbing. And I said, why are you so upset? Like, what's making you so upset right now? And he was like, that I'm losing you. And I was like, you did this.
Like, you did this.
You put yourself in this position to lose me. And so he left, and I actually felt okay at this point. I was like, it felt reassuring to me that he cried over me, because up till this point, I'm like, I don't think any of this was real. I don't think this man ever cared about me. Like, I don't think he ever liked me. And also now I know that that's true. I know he didn't care about me. I don't know if I was just feeling a void. Like, I don't know what it was, but like, if you really care about someone, you don't do this to them. Like, you just don't. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't really think that he cares about anybody besides himself. Like, I just don't. And I think he's really good at faking it. And I think even sometimes he thinks he cares about people, but when it comes down to it, I don't think he does. I think it's all very selfish. And the thing that kind of put the nail in the coffin for me was the fact that less than 2 weeks after he sat on my couch crying to me about losing me, he was dating somebody new. And I'm pretty sure he's still dating someone new. And honestly, there probably was some overlap. Like, knowing him and his patterns, there probably was some overlap. I don't know. I probably will never know. It's not my business. I don't really care. But it just makes me sad, because he obviously did not go to therapy. He has not done any work on himself. He's the same person. He's going to keep doing the same thing. His mask is just going to be thicker now. He's going to be able to fake it for longer until the true colors come out. And our last communication, I actually went to Orange County with the girls while you were gone for like a Christmas day. And the whole time we were there, we went out in Newport, and I had so much, this December, I had so much anxiety about being there and running into him that I texted him and I asked if he was working, and he said he was. So immediately I was like, thank God I'm not going to run into him. Like, I felt better. But the conversation, he basically was like, oh yeah, he asked why, and I said, didn't want to run into you, whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm at work, so you won't see me. And I said, yeah, I don't want to see you, to be clear. That was the point of asking. And he's like, I don't understand the animosity. Like, I saw that you have a new guy, and I'm happy for you. I still think about you every day. I'm sorry for what I did, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have a new guy. I don't have, like, you really think I could be like in a new relationship right now? Like, I, unlike you, did have real feelings. Like, everything that I felt in that relationship was real.
What was he referencing?
TikTok.
What did you post on TikTok?
A Hinge date.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which I'm no longer going on dates with anyone at all like that. That's done. I can't do that. But I'm like, since when do you even have TikTok? And then he goes on to tell me this December that he's like, so sorry still about what he did. He hates what he did to me. He's like, I think about you and us every day. You know what? I'm actually going to read this, because I I deleted his number. I deleted all of our messages, but I screenshotted these. And I think I sent them to Carly or someone. I saw you got a new man. I'm happy for you, Kelsey. Not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about you or wanted to reach out. I get the animosity, but at the same time, I don't. I want the best for you. Anyways, I miss you. I hope you're doing good. Have fun in Newport. I like went off. I was like, how could you assume that I'm like dating someone, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, I saw it. I'm just saying, I'm happy for you though. I know that I treated you bad and I feel horrible about it. I do see it and I've apologized and I'm still sorry. And then I sent another like long message and I'm like, if you really cared, like you would be in therapy and you wouldn't be dating. And I'm assuming that both of those are like not true. And he said, I saw your TikTok, but that's besides the point. I understand. I'm sorry for what I did. I hate what I did to you. I do care about you and I've thought about you every single day since ... I bawled my fucking eyes out if you don't remember ...
Like, okay.
And I was like, I know that you cried, but those tears weren't for me. And I said, you're dating again, aren't you? And you're not in therapy, are you? And he said, I can't emphasize it enough. I'm sorry I broke your trust. And those tears were for you. I think about you and us every day, but okay. I said, why are you avoiding answering my questions? And he's like, I'm not avoiding it. You told me to never speak to you again. And no, I'm not dating. And no, I'm not in therapy. That was December. Okay. Well, like literally the next day on my fucking For You page on TikTok, his new girlfriend's TikTok pops up of him and her together. And it's from like November. So
here's the thing. Like, even though you guys weren't together when he was texting you that, like, he was still using the same tactics on you there that he had been the whole time. About saying he was sorry, saying he was thinking about you, and that, like, he's sorry he broke your trust, and the tears were for you, and all of that. Like, none of that, to me, is genuine at all.
No.
I don't think he truly believes those things. I think he's saying whatever he can to try and get back in your orbit, because that's what he did the whole time. He did that from the beginning. Yeah. Whatever he could do to get you back in his orbit and to make sure that you were still in arm's reach of him, he was going to do, because that's what made him feel powerful. And he was going to keep doing that. And he knew that he could do it enough that you would respond and you would come back and you would do all these things until you didn't.
Yeah. And here's the difference now between me and him. I mean, obviously there's a world of difference because I don't understand what he did and I will never understand because I'm nothing like him. And I'm very glad that I'm not.
That's not something that people with good intentions and good hearts will understand ever.
Yeah. But that is the last time that we have spoken. I told him that I wanted him to delete all of our messages. I didn't want him to have any messages or pictures of me. I deleted all of our messages. I deleted his number. He's blocked on everything. Like, we do not have any communication anymore. I had to block that girl on TikTok too. Like, nothing against her, but I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to see that. And also, like, I hoped for her sake that I can't even say it with a straight face. I hope that he's changed, but how could he when he went from one relationship directly into another? Like, he still is not taking accountability. He's still not changing. He's not doing any work on himself. Like, I hope that it goes better for her than it did for me, but the man has not changed. Like, he's 31 years old, by the way. At this point, you're not going to change unless you actually take real steps to changing. And it just makes me sad. And honestly, like, this whole thing has been really fucking hard. It's been really hard. But it's not even the biggest heartbreak that I've had. Like, it's not. It's just the biggest betrayal and the most abuse that I've dealt with in a relationship. And I didn't see it till I was out. But thank God I got out. Thank God I did not have a baby with this man. Thank God I didn't move in with this man. Like, thank God it didn't work out, because now I'm free. Like, I get to be done with that. I get to become the best version of myself. I am in therapy. I am not dating. I am making sure that I put all my pieces together and I fully heal before I date again. A, because I don't want to hurt anybody else. And I think hurt people hurt people. B, I want to get to the point where I'm so healed that, God forbid, he tries to come back into my life, I will have no desire, no temptation, like nothing to do that, because I truly think if I would have taken the time to heal from him completely the first time, I think it's possible my feelings for neighbor boy could have developed more. I think I would not have given him another chance. I would have said no to that. And I think things would be a lot different. So the difference between me and him is he's going to go find a new supply. He's going to keep filling whatever void he has in him. He's never going to get better. And I am going to take time to actually heal and get better and become a better person. And then I will attract the right people and things will ultimately be a lot better for me in the long run. And now I get to become the best and strongest version of myself that's ever existed. And that's really exciting to me. Like, I genuinely am excited for that and for that part of my future. And yeah, my plans with him are to never speak about him or eventually think about him again. I plan to forget that he exists and move on with my life. And when I really think about it, like, the only thing that made him special was my feelings for him.
Yeah.
It's not him. Like,
there's nothing special about him.
He makes people feel really special and he makes people feel really good and loved. So obviously I'm a human being. There are days where I'm sad and where I miss him. And like, there's a part of me that still loves him, but I fell in love with a version of him that doesn't even exist. Like, that's not a real person. That's not him. And I feel like most days I'm doing a lot better. Like, I feel like I can feel myself healing and moving on and like finding real happiness again on my own. Like, not having to depend on anyone else for happiness. And that is a really good feeling. And yeah, I'm doing a lot better now and I'm excited for whatever my future holds. And I hope he eventually gets the help that he needs, but obviously I'm not going to hold my breath. It's no longer my problem. It's not my business. It just is what it is. So yeah. Oh, one thing that I left out is when we would get in fights, he would literally erase good times that we had. Like, when we got back from Indiana and got in the fight over Ashley, he said word for word, "We just had such a good week in Indiana and now all of that is erased because you are having a meltdown," is what he said. I was like, I'm not having a meltdown. I'm having a conversation with you. If I asked him to unfollow someone or show me DMs or anything like that, he wouldn't, because he said that then it would just be a continuous cycle and it would never end and I would keep doing it. Just manipulative.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't take care of me. I think he wants someone who will fit into his life perfectly. I think he wants a wife. I don't think he wants to be a husband. I think that he just expects everything to cater to him.
Yeah, I think that he needs and wants somebody who doesn't have a backbone and who will cater to him with everything that he wants and needs. And that's it. Like, I don't think that he wants to put in the effort to have a good relationship. He just expects it to be good because he expects someone to follow his rules.
Yeah.
And to read his mind and to just pretty much be at his beck and call.
And as soon as that is questioned, as soon as any conflict arises, as soon as they start to see his true colors, like that, it's just not going to go well. So yeah, I just feel very lucky that I got out of that situation when I did. And I hope, for the sake of this new girl, if he's still dating her, I have no idea, that something changes. Yeah, but I'm happy to be out. I know that whoever I'm going to marry not only would not treat me like that, but would not do that to anybody. Like, I don't want to date someone who's done that to anybody, because if you're capable of doing it to one person, you're capable of doing it to another. And who knows what it takes for that to snap again and for that to happen. So my husband is out there treating women well, and I'm excited to meet him. And in the meantime, I'm so excited to just like see what I can do on my own and how happy I can be on my own. And yeah, I think I have a lot to look forward to. So, moral of the story, it is very hard to be in relationships like this. It's very hard to get out of relationships like this. I just think it's important to look for the red flags. And there's so many. Honestly, if you get on TikTok or on Google or anything and you just research like narcissists and like red flags with narcissists and their tendencies, it's crazy how they're all the same. They all do the same things. And if you recognize any of those patterns,
well, it's
like,
a literal
please get
disorder.
Yeah.
Like it's a personality disorder.
Exactly.
Like it's a mental illness.
I wish that he could understand that, because I feel like I think at one point I told him that he's a narcissist, and it's taken as an insult, and I get that, but it's like, no, there's something, like, you can get help for this. Like, there are people who are narcissists who say, I'm a narcissist and I'm in therapy
100%.
and I'm working on it and I'm doing things and I'm aware of it, and because I'm aware of it, I can be better. He just needs to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because I think I've even seen a girl on TikTok like say that. Like, she makes TikToks about the fact that she was diagnosed as a narcissist and she is getting the help for it, and she is like being public about it on TikTok because she wants to get out, like, her message out of like, yeah, like, I say and I feel all of these things and I'm getting the help for it because I don't know what happened to make her recognize her behaviors and her feelings, but like she like was, I feel like I saw this probably a month or so ago, but she basically was like telling her story of like, this is what I was doing and this is what I want to get out of like making these videos of like, I'm getting the help that I need, and I want like other people who maybe feel and are doing the same things as me and they see this video that like maybe it's like sparks something in them.
Yeah. So all in all, do I regret giving him a second chance? No, because I think that a small part of me would have wondered. But do I wish I never met him in the first place? 1,000%.
I also wish you never met him.
Yeah, because I did not need to go through this.
No.
I did not need, like, the pain that I feel now, like, it's not worth it. Like, I did not need this. So yeah, I wish I never met him. I will never see or speak to him again, hopefully. I don't know if I run into him somewhere, like, what can you do? But yeah, so I am an open book. If anyone has any questions about anything or wants to talk to me about anything, I'm happy to do it. Obviously, I don't want to dwell on this man any more than I have to, but I also understand that, like, there's a lot of people who go through similar situations, and I'm happy to, like, help as much as I can. Obviously, I'm still currently working through it. I'm still in therapy. It's a lot to process, but I'm happy to talk through anything that anyone wants to know. One last thing that I forgot is, on our way home from Havasu, when I'm like destroyed and like all this is coming to the surface, he says to me, this is just something that happens in relationships sometimes. Yeah. So,
like, at the end of the day, it's like almost comical. Like, it is horrible. It's terrible. I hate that it happened, and I hate that it happened to you, and that you had to go through and are going through all these things. But like, it's just kind of comical that he thought that he could be the way that he is.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's funny to me because I'm just like, well, he's funny to me, not the situation. He's funny to me because it's just like, what are you doing?
What was
like,
the
you're
point?
a joke.
Here's
like,
what I
you're
don't
a
get.
joke.
What was the point of getting me to come back into your life and dating me again? Like, what was the point of meeting my family? What was the point of anything that you did if you were dating other people the whole fucking time? Like, what was the point? Why did you drag me into this mess again?
Yeah, I think this man's a coward. I think he's a joke. I don't think he will ever change. And I think that he is enabled by the people around him. And that's another big reason why he will never change. And I hope that he never experiences happiness. Sorry. Like, I don't care if that's harsh. I don't care if that's mean. I think for someone with his heart, which is none, not one, very black, very cold, very stone, I just think that karma will get to him at some point, and I hope that he has to sit there and feel it.
I hope for the sake of other women that he gets help.
Yeah. I hope that too, but I hope that he also gets his ass handed to him.
I think what goes around comes around,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It's not my problem. It's not my business.
Not your
I'm out
problem,
of
not
it.
your
I'm free.
business.
I get to move on with my life and be
Not
happy.
your circus, not your monkeys.
But yeah, that's the story of the liar part 2. I promise you there will not be a liar part 3.
Yeah, if there is, I will kill her.
I don't
It'll only
think-
be me as a KK.
I don't think
It'll only be a K.
there's not one person in my life that would allow that to happen.
No,
so.
and I think from the perspective of like being someone in your life and being your friend, I think it's really easy for people to sit back and be like, why are you doing this? What are you doing this for? Like, you should like I don't understand. Like, it's very easy to sit back and be like, well, just end it. Like, I don't understand why you keep going back. Like, just end it. And I think for me personally, I have experience with narcissism, not from a relationship like that, but from other people that I've met in my life. And I think that like, it's easy for me to sit and like say all these things to you, and it's easy for me to sit back and be like what the fuck are you doing? And I think even for someone who hasn't experienced it and is a third party in a situation like that, it's easy to say that. And I think it's like, I could recognize the signs and I could see all the things that he was doing and I could tell you he was manipulating you. But at the end of the day, like, you're not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
Because it's your relationship. You're in it. You have feelings in this. You're roped into this. He's manipulated you into this, and you are genuinely feeling the things that you're feeling, whether he's manipulated those feelings or not. So I think if you have a friend that is in a relationship like this and you can see the signs and you can understand what's happening, I think the easiest thing for you to do is, like, you can't victim blame your friend or whoever it is. You can't, like, there's nothing that you can say or do, honestly, that will get this person out of the situation. The best thing that you can do is just be there for them, and you can try whatever tactics that you think would be helpful to try and get them to realize. But at the end of the day, like, they won't realize until something happens that gets them out of the situation, if they do, honestly. Because there are a lot of women that are in relationships like this that don't make it out and are either still in it, or to, like, really get, like, real about it. There are women who don't make it out alive of relationships that get like this and get worse. And I think that if you find your friend, relative, acquaintance, whoever is in a situation like this, I think it's best to try and get, like, you can talk to them, you can do whatever you want, but, like, there are, there are things out there that can help people in situations like this that aren't you.
Yeah, I think it's important to be supportive to people that you know that are in this, while also reminding them of what they deserve. And being in it, I think what's helpful is to, at least for the romantic relationship side of things, it's important to constantly remind yourself of what you want in your future partner. Because for me, like, first and foremost, I don't want someone who's capable of treating anybody like this. B, I want someone who's always going to have my back, who's never going to yell at me in public, even if I'm in the wrong. Like, they're on my side, and if there's an issue later, we talk it out later. I want someone who can have conversations without it turning into a fight. I want someone I can be goofy around. Like, I couldn't even be myself around this man. I was not myself. I could not be goofy. I could not be funny. I could not be anything anymore, because all of my focus was on not upsetting him. And yeah, I lost myself completely. So I want someone who's going to go to a concert and go to the front of the concert and dance with me. He never would do that. I want someone who's going to bring me soup when I'm sick. He wouldn't have done that. He didn't even help me after my surgery.
You just want somebody that is going to do things unprompted.
I
Like, you don't want to have to ask for anybody. It's not normal to have to, like, ask to look at someone's messages, to ask someone to look at their DMs, to ask someone to unfollow someone and them not do it and have to ask them multiple times. Like, it's not normal to do a lot of the things that you were doing with him. And it's not something that, like, you are worth so much more than having to ask someone to read their text messages.
Yeah.
And like their response shouldn't be the way that he responded. Like
No.
the response, you should not get resistance, because for someone that actually cares about you, for someone that actually has genuine feelings for you and wants to make things work for you, if you have these feelings and they've genuinely done nothing wrong, I feel like they will take the time to sit down with you to talk about, why are you feeling this way?
Yes. How could I make you not feel this way?
Or they'll be like, unfollowed, done.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a problem. Like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Like, let's talk about it, and let's talk about what I can do and what you can do and what we can do together so that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to feel that way again, because I want to do nothing that puts you in a position to feel that way.
Exactly. And you know what
Ever.
else? It's not even just me. Like, when I think about these other two girls who were also dating him and had feelings for him, I'm sure he completely discarded them when I caught him. He never even said anything to the one girl, never said anything, just completely discarded her. And I'm sure that was hurtful for her. And I feel sad for both of these girls. I feel sad for all of us, because we all got hurt. And you know what? The girl that he was dating right before he wrote me back in, when they said was pretty casual, looking back, some of the stuff he told me, like, red flags, and they came up in our relationship. He said he's made comments about her not paying for things and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, that's a really stupid reason to end things with someone. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But then he told me when he ended things, she cried. And I'm like, you must have been really laying it on thick with her if she cried when you ended things. Like, I don't think that this relationship was what you made it seem to me.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's probably doing the same shit with the new girl. If she knows about me, I don't know. I'm sure he's told a million lies already, but I'm sure he's making it seem like it was not that serious. It was not that deep. Like, I was just there. Like, it's a never ending cycle. And I am sorry for anyone who gets roped into it. And I'm sorry for myself. And it's hard. Like, it's not an easy thing to go through. It's still hard. I still sometimes wake up with just a pit in my stomach, and I have anxiety all the time, but I'm getting better, and I am going to sit in this uncomfortable feeling until it goes away. Like, it's going to be hard, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to be painful, especially knowing he's dating someone else. Like, that is very painful to get out of a relationship for anyone. And for your ex to immediately jump into a new one, like, that's really painful. Like, really, really painful. But the only thing that I can do is sit in this pain and this uncomfortable feeling until I heal and I get through it. And I will.
And that's what makes you the better person. Not that it's a competition, but like, even though you went through what you went through, you getting the help that you need, you seeking the help that you want and need, you doing these things and sitting in this pain and uncomfortableness and working through it, becoming a better person, like, you win. Like, again, it's not a competition, it's not a race, it's not whatever, but you win as a person at the end of the day, because you will and are better now.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
He is going to continue to do whatever it is he does, and at this point, who the fuck cares?
I think it takes a very strong person to not go to, like, your safety nets. Like, I could very easily go find another guy to help fill this void and distract me. I'm not doing that, because I don't want to hurt anyone else, and because I want to just become a better person, and I know that I need to do that alone. And it's so fucking hard, but I think it takes a strong person to do that. And, like, that's who I am, and that's who I want to be, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, the only thing that's in my control right now is how I respond and how I take this experience and become better. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's it.
Yay. That was a heavy episode. And Papa.
Hi, Papa.
There are a lot of resources for people that are in situations like this. For if you or a friend is struggling with something related to this, like, we really urge you to look into those resources.
Yes. Reach out to me if you want to talk about anything with me. Research narcissism, research what it's like to get out of an abusive narcissistic relationship. And then you'll understand, like, what I'm going through now. And like, you're not alone if you're in this situation. A lot of people are going through it. There are people out there who are trained to help with this kind of thing, and I'm happy to talk to whoever wants to talk about it. But I think the important thing is that no matter what you're going through, like, you can come out on the other side. You will come out on the other side, and things are always going to get better. And when you have a pure heart and pure intentions, you're always going to come out on top. So yeah, lots of lessons that I've learned in there, but that is the story of the liar part 2. Thank you all so much for listening and bearing with me as I jumped around and fought through tears and all the things.
I know this was like, it's a pretty long episode. But I think that everything that was said is really important.
Obviously, there's a lot that we left out of that too. So if you want to know more details, happy to share. But in the meantime, I'm going to be moving on with my life. So
yeah. So with that, our next episode will be our 2025 reset episode with our intentions, kind of looking back at our very first episode and talking about those intentions and what they looked like this past year and what we intend to do moving forward and what our 2025 looks like for us. And we are going to be, I feel like we say this pretty much every time we come back, but we are this time really genuinely going to be better about recording and posting, especially while I'm not traveling for work and I'm home. So
true.
Yeah. So follow us, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. They're all some iteration of Kouch Chronicles, both with a K.
K for couch, K for chronicles.
Yep. Underscore dot in the middle or nothing at all. But you will find us if you search Kouch Chronicles. We will have all of that in the description as well.
And we hope you all had wonderful holidays and Happy New Year and all good things in 2025. So we're super excited, and we will see you all next week.
Yeah, I feel like a big thing was just purged. So I think
I feel free.
Yeah.
I feel good. I needed to get that all out.
Yeah, you needed to get that out, and I'm really glad and happy that you did. And now we can
move on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can move on, and I won't have to think about slashing 3 of his 4-car tires at night.
All right. We love you guys. Reach out if you have any questions. Follow us on all the socials, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.